This podcast contains explicit language and content and is for mature audiences only.
Hey, you teenagers out there. If you're under 18, this show is more for your parents. So now that you have that mental picture stuck in your head, put some music on and get back to doing your homework.
We are a longtime married couple who's decided to chronicle our personal adventures and share our sex-positive discussions as we navigate our way through the swinging lifestyle.
Care to join us?
Hello again, everyone. I'm Mr. Jones.
And I'm Mrs. Jones, and we want to welcome you to episode 16 of the We Got a Thing podcast. It's the Thursday night before Thanksgiving, and we're recording on a Thursday night again. This is what we had to do last month.
Yeah.
And why do we have to record on a Thursday night, Mr. Jones?
Because we're having company on Friday night.
And
Saturday night.
And Saturday night. Mr. Jones is keeping our social calendar quite full.
No, we are.
Yes.
They're not just coming over to see me.
Well, you never know.
All right. Well, you're. I don't think you're complaining about it.
I mean, you're the tater, but you're a pretty nice tater, Mr. Jones.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So it's been quite a busy month for us.
It has been.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last time we recorded was the day we were going to go to.
It was the weekend before the Halloween party.
Right.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked about that yet.
No.
Okay. So we need.
We need to change our show notes.
Yeah, that's a mid show edit right there. We need to talk
right.
about the Halloween party.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses is going to be lengthy.
Well, we should talk about that first because that is the first thing to happen.
It is the first thing.
Right.
So, yeah, we went to the Halloween party, and it was fun. There were a ton of people there.
Right.
Very well attended. We had some good costumes, I thought.
Well, it was a good party only because our friends were there.
Yeah, we had some new friends there, and we had some old friends there.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. We actually had new friends that we met at a meet and greet a couple weeks before that, and they had gotten a hotel room before the event so that they could spend the night because they lived kind of far away from where the event was. So they invited us up to their hotel room before the party started, and we had martinis and just got to chat with them and get to know them a little better, and then we all went over to the party and met up there again.
Yeah, it was a party put on by Synergy, and they're the same ones that put on the New Year's Eve party that we went to.
Yes.
Only this time, I don't know. There was a lot that we didn't like about this party. First of all, our bus driver was Mr. Magoo. And maybe you have to Google Mr. Magoo. But he could barely see over the steering wheel.
He was a little old man.
Yeah.
And his foot wasn't strong enough to stay on the gas pedal for extended periods of time. So the bus would speed up and then the bus would slow down.
He picked us up at a parking lot. And then he was supposed to go to one of the hotels. And he drove by the hotel, and one of the passengers had to yell at him to turn around. So he turned around finally and made it to the hotel. Then he didn't stop people from getting on. And so there were, this is not a big deal because of the party, but there were literally people sitting in everyone's laps on the whole bus.
Yeah, poor Mr. Jones. I had to sit on your lap. It was terrible.
That was fine. But then we didn't know where the party was going to be. It was supposed to be kept secret, and that's why you had to meet at a parking lot and get bussed in. Well, he drove by the party, but nobody knew because none of us knew where the party was.
We suspected that's where it was because there was another limo bus over there.
Yeah, and somebody started yelling at him again, and then he had to turn around and he almost backed the thing off the road. I thought we were going to go down a cliff.
Yeah. So, it was a rough start.
Yeah, and we made it to the party, and it was a fairly nice location, but there were just too many people in there. We don't have to spend a lot of time talking about this, but the bar was too small. There were only 3 people serving what had to have been at least 200 or 300 people. It was 6 people deep to get a drink, and then when we finally got up to the front of the bar, they couldn't find our bottle of vodka. and it was a mess. And then the music was loud, and
it was really dark in there because it was Halloween. I mean, that was part of the theme, but like luckily we knew a couple couples there, so we were able to find them and and hang out with them. But we met another couple that was there. They had come all the way from West Virginia to go,
right.
and they were a great couple, but we were having the hardest time talking to them, and we weren't even near the dance floor. But it was just so dark and so loud in there. It's like when it's really loud, then I read people's lips, but it was so dark, I was having trouble seeing their lips to read their lips. And that was just unfortunate because I thought they were a great couple.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we did talk to them for a while. And that's the reason that we kind of salvaged, because we just kept running into people that we either knew or that we met there. And we tried to go into the other side of the building where it was kind of partitioned off, where they had the playrooms. But there was crowded in there, and there was really no place to stand around. So
and that was even at the beginning of the party. People weren't playing yet. I think people just went over there because it wasn't quite as loud,
right?
And people wanted to socialize more.
Yeah. So anyway, it was. The costumes were great, and everybody
looked fantastic.
Yeah, everybody was in a festive mood.
Yes, it was fun, and they had good entertainment. I mean, that was kind of cool, little like trapeze artist.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And the playroom area, for the venue that it was, they transformed it well.
Yeah.
I really thought the playroom area was pretty cool. They had a coffin that they had open, and it was kind of like a photo opportunity, so you could get your picture taken in the coffin. So we have a silly picture of us in the coffin.
Yeah.
It was fun.
But when we finally were going to go to play, we were actually with a different couple. And another couple. Remember, it was the couple that we went to have drinks with before.
Right.
And then there was another couple they had met.
Right.
And the six of us started walking back towards the play areas like we might play together. And then it was so crowded back there, and we couldn't find a place to play. And then we got separated. And then a funny thing happened. And there were these, were they beds or were they just...
Well, where we ended up was a tent.
No, I know, but there were beds before that. So you walk by these beds that had sheer curtains around them, and then all of a sudden there's this 4-man tent. Maybe it was a 6-man tent.
It was bigger because there were 2 mattresses in it. It was big.
And the flap flips up, and one of our other friends says, "Hey, here's an empty tent. Come on in." And so we ducked into the tent. And there were 2 couples in there. Well, there were 2 couples that went in there with us.
Right.
And we knew both of them.
Right.
We had played with one couple before. The other couple we had not.
Another couple we had met at a house party, and never really connected with.
Right.
And we had wanted to. So that was a nice opportunity.
Yeah. So, So this was the first time. You did a threesome with 2 other women.
That was awesome.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty hot.
Yeah, and I was kind of in the middle of it at one point.
You were.
You
were laying on you were propped up on your elbow, and you had your head turned, your neck craned around, and you were in between this other woman's legs, and then the other woman was between your legs.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah, and that was not even planned. We just happened to pop in there, and we knew them, and we really liked them, and things just kind of started. And I think the woman that we didn't really know, I think she plays with other women.
Right.
Yeah, because when the 3 of you got finished, she went back with her husband, and then we swapped with our friends.
Yes.
But again, you got foiled.
I did. I don't like to rush things. I like things to take their time. And you and the other wife, you guys.
Wait.
You guys.
Wait. This was not a problem on my part. We just finished before you did.
Right. No. Oh, yeah. I don't want people to...
I'm you're going to get a reputation. Sensitive. That's right. No, I lasted a while.
You 2 had plenty of time and you enjoyed each other. Yes.
Yeah.
But the other husband and I were just really enjoying ourselves and not rushing and just kind of switching things up here and there and trying new things. And then I'll be darned if the guy didn't come by through the playroom area going, last call for the shuttles, it's 1:45. And we were like, no, we're not done.
Yeah. And we were finished. And as soon as he did that, and they started turning the lights on.
And Mr. Jones was like, get dressed.
Yeah,
We're going to miss the shuttle.
and
We're
then-
going to have to walk home.
So there were 6 of us in a tent, and there were clothes everywhere. And we couldn't see. And those aren't my underwear. I don't even know that we got everything.
I don't know. I think we did, but it was just a mess in there.
And then when we got outside, and it started raining.
Yes.
And then the last bus wasn't the last bus.
It couldn't have been the last bus because there were like 75 people out there to get on a 25-person bus.
And you know what? And you and I haven't talked about this, but just so you'll know that everything's not always perfection and rosy in the Joneses' life. Remember, we were standing out waiting for the bus, and it was raining, and there was a couple standing next to you.
Oh, the really drunk couple?
She was sloppy drunk.
Yes,
he was drunk too, but she was sloppy drunk. And
luckily, he was sober enough to hold her up because that was the only thing keeping her vertical.
Well, and then she started flirting with you, and then she started kissing you, and it was sloppy, and I don't know, it just turned me off.
It
and
was.
Then he started kissing you, and
they were a sweet couple. They were harmless at that point. I mean,
right,
and they were a cute couple. They were just sloppy drunk and.
But I didn't know what to do. First of all, it was bothering me because they were just so sloppy drunk, and you didn't seem to be moving. And so then I didn't know.
Well, you know what? I have been more sober than I was at that point. I was feeling no pain myself.
Well, I was assuming that you wanted to be extracted from that situation. And so I moved. I literally,
you walked
away to the other side of the line.
And you left me there.
And I left you there, right.
Which kind of annoyed me.
Right.
Yes.
So you came over eventually, and then we did talk about that the next day because I shouldn't have walked away from you, but it was gross. And maybe I'm not.
It wasn't gross.
Yes, it was. She was just sloppy drunk.
Well, she wasn't like puking or anything.
No, but I'm just women that get that. I mean, anyone, not just women, people that get that drunk. It can't be fun. They're not going to remember anything.
No.
It's so anyway. So we're not perfect.
No,
I didn't handle that.
No, and I was a little bit overserved.
Right.
So right. I was not exactly on my most logical A game.
Right. So that put an end to what was, it was okay.
That did not spoil the night for me. I had a blast.
Yeah. I don't know that we'll go back.
I thought the 145 shuttle man yelling down the playroom was the bucket of water on my head. It wasn't the drunk couple.
So that was, now before we go any further, we found ourselves in a little bit of a shock because, as you all have heard, that if you listen to the Swinger Dairies podcast,
yes,
they've decided to pull the plug, much to our chagrin. I mean,
I know
they contacted us ahead of time because we were pretty good friends, and they said, well, who can we talk to about this besides you all? You all have a podcast.
So we had like a 2-hour FaceTime therapy session.
Yeah, this kind of made up for the therapy session that they gave us in New Orleans, only we didn't get to play after we all settled.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. And
this 500-mile distance between us is just not right.
Yeah. And it was sad because, I mean, you've heard their story. If you haven't, you need to, well, if their podcasts are still up, go over and take a listen. But somebody in their family they suspect is getting really nosy and may have found their SLS account and had made some comments indicating that they might know. And they just got really uncomfortable, and decided, that the best thing for them to do is to end their show.
Just like the rest of us, they're professionals and they're parents and their brothers and sisters and a daughter and a son to parents, and they just really don't want to be faced with having to explain the situation to their family and then have it potentially affect their professional life. So
yeah, and she didn't like my solution, and that was, I'm going to find out who this is, and we're going to round up some of their listeners, and we're going to get on horses with torches.
Yeah,
the posse's going to go hunt them down.
I know. So while we're not happy about the fact that they decided to suspend their podcast, we certainly understand, because as all swingers can imagine, being found out without your wanting to be found out would certainly not be pleasant.
Yes. And we won't talk much more about that because we want to end on a happy note. So at the end of tonight's episode, Paige and Penn sent us a snapshot to share with you all. So we're looking forward to them joining us at the end of this show for our snapshots.
Yes.
So moving on, the rest of our busy month, we had last month we talked about a house party that we went to, and we talked about this was your 10-handed massage.
Yes.
And there was a couple that was new that we met there.
Right.
And we indicated last episode that we were going to meet with them the next night.
Yeah, the next night after we podcasted our last episode.
And we did.
And we did.
And
Yay.
I'm doing air quotes, and we got to know them better.
Yes, we did.
in the way that only swingers can. Yeah, we lured them right into our trap again.
I know. We just have this reputation for breaking in newbies.
Yeah. What a great couple. What a great time.
They are. They're so much fun.
Yeah. And they're close by, so we're calling them our Friday night friends.
That's right. And guess who we're seeing tomorrow night, Mr. Jones?
Tomorrow's Friday.
It's our Friday night friend night.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can't wait. It's really good to have them close by, because most people, you have to drive an hour and a half or go to a big event. And this way we can Friday night, go out to dinner and we're all right here.
That's right.
Imagine that. Then we had other friends come down.
Speaking of the 10-handed massage.
Oh, yeah, the other couple.
I know.
That's right. And they came down and we spent the evening, went out to dinner with them. And they came back and we played with them.
And there was another massage involved.
Yeah, there was. And did I get shortchanged on that one?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I got shortchanged.
You're too polite. You always say, you can go first.
Yeah.
And then it's really hard to get through for people on the massage table when there's just these amazingly sexy naked people on the massage table.
Well, we'll talk more about that later.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we had another, two more of our good friends came down and spent the evening with us. And, we're going to talk more about this in our topic, but we're just getting so much more comfortable, with every aspect of the lifestyle, soft swap, full swap.
Yep.
But I have to interject here, because I've been getting some sort of a reputation for not being able to last very long, and I have to set the record straight. So, we've been pretty active this past month. I had no issues.
No, you've been good, Mr.
Right.
Jones.
So when we were with this one couple and we were full swapping, and I was doing her doggy style, and then we had that position for a while, and then she rolled over and we were going to go missionary. But before I went back inside of her, she said, "Oh, did you come yet?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Oh, okay, good." And I didn't think about it at the time, and we got done. And she listens to our podcast. I said, "I'm getting a reputation." That's why she asked me, because she's trying to, be careful. But ladies, I got everything under control.
Yes, you do. You're very good.
Right. Yeah.
There's only certain techniques that kind of like really catch you off guard.
No.
And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, no.
No, with the 3 different ladies that we played with during the past month, they were all very deliberate.
Well, it's not the first time we've played with the ladies I think you're thinking of. So,
right.
And I think that's what's cool is, we've been around enough now. We're starting to play with our couples that we're friends with, multiple times. And it really is fun when you get to know somebody and you come back together with them and you're already beginning to learn their triggers and what they like and what they don't like and what really turns them on and what's just kind of okay.
Yeah.
Because it's different for everybody. Just because I do something to you and you really like it doesn't mean the other gentleman's going to like it or vice versa. So
yeah, and I tell you what,
kind of fun.
This empty nest is a good deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's nice not having to worry about the daughter.
Yeah.
And her plans.
I mean, what do people say, when their kids are gone? Oh, now I can run around the house naked. Well, now we say, well, now the 4 of us can run around the house naked. Or more.
That's right.
At least 4.
No hiding.
Right. And then we had another, we got rejected again.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a couple that we met midweek because they live close by, and went to dinner with them. And really, they were a nice looking couple. We enjoyed our evening. But then when we got home and emailed them, we got the 1-line answer back.
We did.
Yeah.
But Can I defend myself?
Well, there's nothing to defend, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, they were a great couple. They were really, really attractive and really nice. And we had a great time with them, but they told some wild stories.
They did.
And they kind of scared me a little. Not them personally, but their stories scared me. And I'm like, oh, I'm not that brave.
Maybe we were too green for them.
Maybe so. I mean, maybe they picked up on that because I mean, he was telling some stories and I know my eyes had to just be perfectly round. Like, you did what?
Yeah.
You know, so maybe they picked up on that. But at the same time, I don't know how I felt about them because I don't know. I guess
so it worked out.
Yeah, I think it was kind of meant to be.
It worked out.
It's too bad because they really were nice and both extremely attractive.
Right.
But, oh well, there's other fish in the sea.
Yeah, and so there was one other date that we went on that
was strange.
Yeah, it was strange.
Yes.
And these folks we don't believe listen to our podcast. I hope not.
I hope not.
And they live close by.
Yes.
So we met them for dinner, and when we got there, they had already found the bar and they had already both had a drink.
Which was fine.
Yep. And then we sat down and started chit-chatting, and then we had a drink and she had another drink. Then, you know, we started conversations and they were clearly eager. I mean, they were leaning across the table and
they were very eager.
And they were very forward.
And she had already started on her third drink.
Then she had her third drink.
Yeah.
And it started getting a little bit.
And it was a Thursday night and I had one drink.
Right. So here's what bothered me. She got up and went to the bathroom. And then after she got up, I think you got up.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a period of time where it was just he and I at the table. And he said, well, I just want to tell you that we would really, really love to see you guys again as soon as possible. I mean, he was really eager. And I said, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I'm just curious, but how do you do that? And he kind of looked at me. I said, we just met you. Your wife's in the bathroom. You clearly haven't talked to her about either one of us. How do you come out? I mean, do you have some sort of a communication secret? I mean, how do you just offer this with her not here? I really don't get it. And he said, well, you know, you can learn a lot about somebody by their phone number. And I said,
and I had come back from the restroom by now, and I was like, oh my gosh.
And I said, well, what do you mean? So then he went on to tell us that he is employed by an investigative organization, and he has tools at his disposal that he evidently used to do some sort of background check on us. And as soon as he told me that,
I was ready to get up and run out of the restaurant.
Yeah, that was a little strange. I mean, this is Washington, D.C., and there's a lot of law enforcement, federal, state, and local around. And so, you know, I guess he just thought that I would think that was okay. So that was really the first thing that pretty much ruined the evening. And then the second thing that happened was that he came right out and he said, well, I guess you can probably tell we are older than
what our profile
says. And he said, well, you know, he says, we're your age or older. And he said, you know, when you turn 50, all of a sudden, you know, people aren't interested. And of course I was
Mr. Jones was a snot.
I was a snot. Because at this point in time, he was really getting on my nerves. And so
I couldn't believe you said
he
this.
says, well, you know, when you turn 50, and I said, well, we don't have that problem.
You were so bad.
Well, anyway, so, and they didn't slow him down any. I mean,
no.
They were still coming across the table, and I think they were into bondage. They were suggesting all kinds of things.
And the thing is they were an attractive couple, and
right.
And they were really nice and very interesting, but
right.
But their aggressive behavior, along with the fact that and their aggressive behavior wasn't really bothering me. I thought it was kind of cute, actually. I mean, not really my style, but I wasn't offended by it or repelled by it. But when he said that he had done background information on us, I was like, gosh, I hope we haven't said anything that didn't concur with what he already knew about us. I mean, he obviously knew where we worked. And
anyway, that wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back, because at that point in time, you and I had not had a chance to even talk because we were still at dinner with them.
Right.
So we got in the car. On the way home, we got a text from them saying that they wanted to see us again in the near future or as soon as possible or something.
And the part you forgot is that they kept saying, we're very patient people.
Oh, yeah.
We know you have a busy schedule. We have a busy schedule too. It's hard to get things on the calendar, but we're very patient. We don't, it doesn't have to be next week or whatever.
Right.
So, but
that's what they said.
Right. But then we got the text and then
the next morning, 2 emails. And here's the straw that broke the camel's back. The email said something to the effect of, the reason that we're so attracted to you and are comfortable with you is because you are exactly as you stated in your profile. And I wanted to immediately say, you mean we didn't lie about our ages?
Or we passed our background check. We didn't lie about anything.
Yeah. So anyway, needless to say, we're not going to pursue that. And that was just strange.
Yeah, I mean, that really kind of scared me.
Yeah.
Between what Paige and Penn had been through with, their family, and then having that happen to us, it just can really make you step back and say,
I think that's why people use Kik and other apps instead of giving their cell phone numbers out. And maybe that's something that we should talk about. But
I know.
Anyway, that's been quite a bit. We don't have anything on the calendar for December, so we should probably just cool it for a while.
I know.
Talk about that balance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got, the holidays coming up and work events that we're obligated to go to. And so, I think we need to keep it real, Mr. Jones.
Well, we'll cut back.
Yeah.
We won't go cold turkey.
I'm sure we'll do something for New Year's.
Yeah. Well, we'll do something before New Year's.
Oh, no doubt.
Okay, so that's Keeping Up with the Joneses. And when we come back, we are going to be talking about
our topic, which the title of our podcast this month is called You Belong to Me, Mister.
Yes, ma'am. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our second segment. And like I said a minute ago, the topic this month is called You Belong to Me, Mister.
Yes.
And there's a story behind that.
That's a good one.
So I'm just going to tell the story first, and then I'll kind of get into why we chose to talk about this. We had a play date, and it was a fantastic play date. Everything went according to plan. There were no drama to speak of. Mr. Jones and I were pretty solid and had a great time. And I'm definitely going to see the couple again at some point in time. So we were exhausted. It was like 2:00 in the morning when they left. And we just kind of went to bed and cuddled with each other and didn't really do a lot of debriefing. So we got up the next morning and it was pouring down rain. And normally Mr. Jones and I do long runs on Saturday mornings. So we couldn't do that because it was pouring down rain. And we sat down and had a cup of coffee together and kind of did our little reconnection talk at that point in time. And everything was fine. And since we couldn't run, I said, hey, you want to go back up to bed?
Yes.
I didn't have to twist his arm too hard. So we got back upstairs and we started reconnecting and it was just kind of nice and soft and sensual. And the next thing I knew, completely unplanned, I am straddling Mr. Jones and I'm just like furiously making love to him. It was just kind of like frantic and crazy, and it was awesome. So
It was hot.
it was hot.
Yeah.
And I had no idea I was going to do that because, I'm a pretty slow sensual lover, but all of a sudden I just had this like need to really kind of take charge of things. So as soon as we were finished, I'm still on top of you. And I took my index finger and I started banging you in the chest. And I looked at you and I said, "You belong to me, mister." And Mr. Jones looked at me and he was like, "Okay."
Yes, I do.
And I was like really emotional and passionate about that.
You were.
I wasn't really joking.
I've never seen you like that before.
No.
And just to back up a minute, I think we did missionary first. And then you like pushed me over.
Yeah.
And you got on top of me and you started going to town, for lack of a better word. And you started really getting into it. And I wanted to say, wow, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want you to stop what was going on. I'm like, something's going on here, but it's good. So I should just keep my mouth shut and ride this out because it is fun.
Well, right. I mean, it was awesome. It was so hot. And I just love it. Like, you say I don't have a fantasy life, and I really don't, because every time I like think of a fantasy and then I try to act it out, something always goes wrong. Not bad wrong, but it always goes off course. So I've just learned to kind of let things evolve. And obviously that was unplanned.
I know. And you talk about, you've made mention a couple times, like, okay, when you guys have your orgasm, it takes you a while for the blood to flow back to your head. Well, that's the way you were.
Yeah.
Because at the time that we finished, you were still for a while. I think you were just processing like, what the hell just happened?
I know, because it was so emotional for me.
Yeah.
And did we talk about it in bed or did we talk about it later? I can't even
I think
remember.
both.
Yeah. So I guess to make a long story short, I realized that I really had an opportunity to observe Mr. Jones the night before.
Yeah, so let's back up a minute.
Okay.
So the night before, and those of you who have listened to our podcast, you've heard Mrs. Jones say this at least once and probably twice, that she's been looking forward to the day when Mr. Jones gets lost in another woman. Well, the night before this, I got completely lost in another woman's for probably, I mean, I've done it before because we're getting better at this, but this was really, I had no clue what was going on the other side of the bed.
Right.
I was totally into her.
Right.
Right.
I was actually trying to get your attention at one point too.
You were. I felt, you know what it was like? It was like when you're in a deep sleep and somebody's trying to wake you up. And I don't know when it started, but I felt this like pulling on my leg and slapping on my leg. And then it
didn't start out that way. I started out just by putting my hand on your calf. And I needed to connect with you.
Yeah.
So I put my hand on your calf. And then I decided I needed to get your attention. And so I just started rubbing your calf. Well, that wasn't working. So then I moved up to the back of like your hamstring, back of your thigh. And I started like rubbing on that. And that didn't work. And I'm like, am I going to have to like pull the hair on the back of his leg to get him to stop or what?
So before you flash forward back to the next morning, though,
yes.
During that's the point that you said you were looking forward to.
Right.
So what was going through your head when you realized I
thought it was funny at the time because you were clueless. And that was fine. I wasn't bothered by it at all.
Okay. So no
it
feelings.
was just the timing of events. I had the time to observe you at that particular point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, I've never really done that before because I always kind of get into what I'm doing and I'll look over at you and I'm like, hey, wow, he's having fun. But at this point in time, I had taken a break and really got to focus on what you were doing. And that was probably the first time I've been kind of unengaged with the other gentleman for a particular moment in time where you have been engaged.
Yeah, because I usually finish first. It didn't happen.
That's what it is. We just figured that out.
Yeah. So anyway,
So
you experienced me being lost in another woman.
right.
Then the next morning, you reclaimed me, and I've got the fingernail marks in my chest
I know.
to prove it.
I did.
So what's this all about, Mrs. Jones?
Well, as the blood came back to my head after I finished like attacking you, I realized that I was feeling possessive, and it wasn't jealousy because I wasn't like upset with you. I wasn't upset with myself. I was just really feeling the need to like repossess you.
But so go back to when I was with her, were you thinking, wow, that's hot?
Yes.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I was not the least bit upset.
Okay.
And when I couldn't get your attention, I thought it was funny because I'm like, good grief. He's obviously having fun. I can't even get his attention.
Right.
So, and that was fine. I wasn't upset with you at all. And it was hot. It was so hot. So that was awesome. But for me to feel possessive of you, because normally I don't feel possessive
that's
of
never
you,
happened.
because there's so much trust between the two of us now, especially now that we're more experienced. There's so much trust that I don't ever worry about that. But I just felt like I needed to reclaim you and like mark my territory again.
Right. So this episode is about what? What does this title mean?
So really going from being funny and you belong to me, mister, what I'm really talking about is the fact that even though I felt possessive and I needed to reconnect with you and I was kind of desperate about that, we still were able to remain emotionally monogamous. So I really want to talk about emotional monogamy tonight and just help people understand the difference that you don't have to be physically monogamous as long as you're emotionally monogamous. That's the important part.
And it felt good. I have to be honest. I mean, it felt good to be reclaimed because normally it's me. And when I think about the jealousy that I experienced back in episode 3, this was 2 years ago, when it happened, the sex that we had then was just raw.
I know. It was kind of like what we had that other morning.
Right. And so I've always been the one, I mean, specifically, I remember the jealousy issue because I didn't understand the separation. I didn't understand what I was feeling, but I just knew that when I was with you, it was more than reclaiming you. It was, I don't know, like a desperation for me at that point in time. But I've never been on the other end of it. And this time I was on the other end of it. And it felt pretty good.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, because I'm not the one that was, I'm usually I was the slow one. I was the one that experienced the trauma of jealousy. So in the back of my mind, I've always been a little bit ashamed about that. But
no.
Now I'm just like, oh yeah.
You weren't thinking, holy cow, I've got this crazy lady on top of me.
No. But it really helped me too, because I was really, really connected with her. I mean, I just love being with her. And when you did that to me, I mean, my world was recentered quickly. And so I got a dose of it too. Okay, this is what this is all about. I mean, we've said that several times over the past year.
Yeah.
About this is what this is about. But again, we've just now experienced a new, I don't know, what is this? A new experience with you going through this.
It was a new experience for me. And ironically, I think about a week after that happened, we got an email from a listener, and she is a marriage and family counselor. And she was talking about how I don't think she had listened to all of our podcasts yet. And she said something about she'd really like to hear us talk about jealousy. And then she went on as a really nice long email that she shared with us. And in her email, she actually talked about possessiveness versus jealousy. And as soon as Mr. Jones read that email to me, I was like, that's it. That's exactly what I experienced. To me, feeling possessive isn't unhealthy. Feeling jealous can become unhealthy if you don't analyze it and figure out what's triggering it. The possessiveness that I felt was okay because I inadvertently acted on it. I didn't really plan to do that. It just kind of happened. And after it happened, you were like, what in the world was that about? And it just like opened up the floodgates, and I just started talking about how I was feeling. And I think maybe if I hadn't asked you to come back upstairs with me that morning, and I just kind of would have tried to keep that inside and process it on my own, I might have ended up feeling somewhat negative about that experience, because I was not the center of your world, and I am so used to being the center of your world.
Yeah.
And it was okay. It was okay because you belong to me, and I know that.
Right. Yeah. So that was pretty damn hot.
It was hot. It was.
Right.
I think that was a big step for us.
Right. And then it continued. So then, later in the week, we're planning on seeing this couple again, and we started texting back and forth. And, and you've given me a hard time about this before, rightfully so, that I don't really allow myself I don't flirt very well. I'm always thinking about you, and am I, overstepping my bounds? Well, I started flirting. It was a 4-way text, and I started flirting, and then, you're not available during the day because of your job the way, that I am. And so after a while, I started to feel a little uncomfortable that, okay, am I texting her too much? Am I flirting, too much about this? Are you okay with it? Because it was silence on the other end.
Right.
We didn't get to talk about that until I got home.
Well, the problem is that when the three of you started texting, I was at work, and I was in the middle of doing something where I couldn't like break away and get into flirty, sexy mode and kind of jump into the conversation. So I looked at it at one point, but I just was not in the position where I could, thoughtfully read everything and respond, because a lot had going on with all the text. So I think my silence might have been perceived as that I didn't approve or I wasn't interested, but I was just unfortunately busy.
Right. But you made a really good point and an illustration about texting and about like our idea about same room.
Yeah, we're really the most comfortable when we can get a 4-way text going on. I guess I made the illustration that, we're a same room couple, and we really gain pleasure from watching each other, and we feel secure playing in the same room. So when it comes to texting and flirting with texting, it's almost like the 4-way texting is like being in the same digital room. So Mr. Jones thought that was kind of clever.
Yes.
I don't know. So, but again, maybe I'll be flirting with the other gentleman, but it's there for his wife and my husband to see. So it's just out there. And when I see Mr. Jones flirting with the other wife, I think it's sexy and hot. So I like to be part of it just as an observer, if nothing else. Not because I don't trust him or not because I don't trust her, but it turns me on.
Right. So I think what we're learning is the 4-way texting is not, there are people that we know in the lifestyle that do individual texting, and shoot, there's people that have boyfriends and girlfriends and spend time away. And,
right.
And that's okay. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But what we're learning is we discovered that's why we like the 4-way texting, is because we like the same room. So same digital room, so that
it's like digital foreplay.
Yeah, it is. And it happens all at the same time, and everybody's included, as opposed to me having to come home and then you have to read a bunch of text to me, and then I have to read a bunch of text to you. And I've really enjoyed that, that aspect of it. So this whole experience for me has been a growing experience as far as letting myself go with another woman because you gave me permission to do that, and
right.
then reconnecting, and then texting back and forth. It's really, now this whole thing about emotional monogamy is becoming so ingrained in our relationship, and jealousy is not even a word that even comes to mind anymore, because there's so much trust. And we talked about this in episode 3, being able to separate the sex from the emotion, the love, and we've been able, that's what it is. We've been able to do that.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about how I felt a couple weeks ago when I attacked you in bed and I admitted to feeling very possessive of you, to how you reacted and processed to our experience, our very first time swinging, where you actually experienced jealousy. And I mean that the contrast is huge between the two experiences, and unfortunately you experienced it first when we had, there was no way to put that into context because we had never done anything like that before. So.
Yeah. So anyway, we continue to learn.
Yep.
And we've got, was there anything else around? I mean, we made a big deal out of, and I think we've mentioned this before, but I think the bottom line is looking back after now that we're full swap, we did make a much bigger thing, a deal about that than it actually was. But on the other hand, and I have to give my tater buddy, Jay from Average Swingers, credit here, because he said when we full swapped, and he told me, he said, well, it'll get more comfortable after the second time. And
after the second couple.
Yeah, after the second couple. And that's exactly what it was. So then there was a second couple, then there was a third couple. And now all of a sudden, this is where it's at. Full swap is where it's at.
Well, in a way.
No, I mean, I don't mean with the other couple. I mean, your relationship, our relationship.
Okay.
I mean, we've been able to do full swap, and I've seen you get lost in another man.
Oh, yeah.
And you've seen me get lost in another woman, and we've emotionally reconnected, and there's no jealousy, and it's all hot and it's all good. So that's what I mean. I think now that we're at this point, that doesn't mean I don't want to soft swap anymore, because we just did it and it was hot. Yeah. So we still feel the same about wanting to go to the play level, of the person.
Yes.
That's the most comfortable play level. We still want to do that because we do care about the people that we play with, and that makes a big difference.
Yes.
So.
And I mean, if everybody's into it, it's going to be hot. If everybody's comfortable and into it, it's going to be hot, because we have learned to understand that emotional monogamy. And once you understand that, then the trust is there, and then you're not worried about anything. And then you can just let your hair down and have fun.
Although I want to talk about something else before we move on.
What?
Earlier in one of the podcasts, I said something about, I like to look into a woman's eyes. And, with you, it was like looking through glass because I could see through. And with other women, it was more, or with you, it was reflective.
Right.
A mirror. And with another woman, it's intimate, but you don't know the person. So you see a beautiful face and you feel the emotion, but there's not that depth of connection.
Right.
And I've looked in the eyes of all the women that I've full swapped with because I just like to do that. I just love that connection. But I think you told me you don't know if you've ever done that.
I'm not sure that I have.
Yeah, so why haven't you done that?
Wow, you're hitting me below the belt here, Mr. Jones. I don't know. I just said this the other night, didn't I?
You did.
I don't know if I'm not making eye contact to guard myself, to guard my heart. I don't know. I haven't really had time to think about that. We just talked about that a couple of nights ago when we were actually planning out this episode. And I had one of those aha moments. So I was kind of hoping to have a couple more play experiences where I could be aware of that.
Well, you're aware of it.
And see, well, I guess I am aware of it, but I don't know what's going through my head that's preventing me from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I don't trust the other person. That's not it.
Do you trust yourself? I think maybe that's more what it is.
I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you've got a homework assignment.
I do. I'll let you know tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah, it's a good.
I'm afraid that maybe I'm not confident of this whole emotional monogamy thing. I'm afraid if I look at somebody, maybe to me in my heart, that might be unfaithfulness or something. Maybe I really have not completely separated the two, the physical versus the emotional. And I'm afraid that it might make a little bit of a gray area that would put me out of my comfort zone. I don't know.
You know what I think?
What?
I'm ahead of you.
You might be.
For a first time.
I know.
All right.
I know. Like you're just a slow starter and now you've kicked it in, Mr. Jones.
But again, here we are thinking we're all this. We think we got it figured out. And then we have a couple play dates that don't go well. And then we have a really positive experience. And then we end up all of a sudden learning something about ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that we're ever going to stop learning about ourselves.
I know. Isn't that cool?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, what do they say? If you're not learning and growing, then you're dying.
And I hadn't really intended. There's another couple that's been emailing us, and they're older than us, and they're just now getting into this. And to hear them talk, and it's cute and it's inspiring. But and
Mr. Jones never says cute.
I don't. That's Penn's word from Swinger Dairies. He cute and sweet. But this couple is so new to the lifestyle, and that they actually had to watch people dancing on YouTube to figure out how to dance because they knew they were going to have to dance and flirt with people. I love the fact that people in their 50s and 60s are doing this and they're sharing it with us. It is the coolest thing to know that we don't really know these folks, but it's just really cool that that people are no matter your age and level of experience, how long you've been married, that this is a great way to deepen and grow your relationship. And that's what this is all about for us. That's what this podcast is all about. Right.
I mean, swinging keeps you young because it keeps you constantly doing self-assessments and wanting to be healthy and it if you do it right, it can just kind of make you a better person in every aspect of your life.
Absolutely. All right. Did we miss anything?
Well, I think I wanted to talk a little bit more about the texting. The texting can be kind of a sticky business if you aren't, doing it right. I think you just need to be very sensitive to how your partner is perceiving those texts. It doesn't bother me when you flirt with her, but you kind of maybe thought it was bothering me because I wasn't replying. I wasn't jumping into the conversation.
Right. Well,
it's just because I was stuck in the middle of something at work that I couldn't get away from, and I couldn't get in, fun, sexy, flirty mode,
Yeah.
So, and that kind of caught you off guard. So then I thought, well, gosh, if I'm catching Mr. Jones off guard and he's thinking that I'm not approving of it, how is the other couple perceiving that? And today we were making plans for this weekend, and there was some texting going on. And again, I wasn't really in the position to jump into the conversation until later in the afternoon. And when I did, the other wife said, so she does exist.
Yeah.
She gave me a hard time because I hadn't been jumping in, and rightfully so. I mean, she called it.
Right.
So, I felt kind of bad about that, but.
Well, you're the type of person that though our vanilla world has been busy too.
Right.
And we had a really, really busy week. And you're the type of person when things get busy, you just go focused. You focus on what needs to be done. And,
right.
And then when you have time to think about the weekend and about playtime, you turn back into your normal self. So
right.
That's a part of it too.
Right. I think, the texting is good. And sometimes when things get really busy, and we're trying to do like plan logistics, sometimes I'll just end up texting with the other girl. and we'll plan out the logistics of stuff. I've done that with a couple couples, or actually quite a few couples. The two girls will plan things out,
and that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's not, again, it's not an uncomfortable or a jealousy thing, because you got some text today from a guy, and it was more like, okay, I got to get you caught up on this. It wasn't that, oh my gosh, I don't want him texting me because I don't want to, it's more, okay, I need to catch you up on this. So, because we like to be all on the same page. We like to know and experience everything, back to the digital same room. And
at the very beginning of our swinging career, for, lack of something better to call it, I did have a bad experience with a guy texting just me, and it was really awkward, and that has kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. So when I do get a text from just the other man, it always immediately puts me on guard. Like, uh-oh, this isn't going to happen again. And it doesn't.
Well,
and I always share everything with you.
Yeah.
So,
and even that bad experience, I mean, what he said, it wasn't what he said in a text. It was more like he said afterwards, delete this text after you read it.
Exactly. Right. I mean, that was what was uncomfortable about it.
And then you thought, why would I need to delete it?
And then he was like, call me. But then when I did call him, and I was calling him more so to tell him, I'm not comfortable with this texting, he was in the car with his wife, and then he totally didn't even acknowledge that he was on the phone with me, and it was just really awkward and weird. And after that, I was just kind of done with him, emotionally done with him. And so now ever since then, there's, I think, been 2 or 3 guys that have texted just me, and it's not their fault, but I'm immediately on the defensive. I don't like this. I'm not comfortable with this. So I think I need to learn to relax a little bit. And at the same time, I need to figure out how to positively communicate to the other guy that I'm not super comfortable flirting just one-on-one like that. I like to be in that same digital room with all 4 people, because that's how we play.
Right. And back to the whole, maybe this will sum the whole thing up, back to the whole emotional monogamy. And, you and I believe that adultery or cheating begins in the mind.
Yes.
So if you are, one-on-one, there's more of an opportunity to convey something that you wouldn't have normally conveyed if the 2 other people were in the room.
Right.
That's the way we look at it.
Right.
Now, other people, we're not judging other people, but that's the way that we believe that emotional monogamy and staying true to each other. And I talked about this when I used to travel. I mean, people who travel and put themselves in a position to be tempted, that's their fault.
Right.
It begins before the physical contact. It begins because you put yourself into that position. And so you and I believe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe that as a man, as long as there's 4-way texting going on, then I'm never, tempted to say something to her that I wouldn't say in front of you. So in my mind, every time I type a text, I know that I'm saying it. I know you're listening.
Right.
And
right.
that's an extra safeguard in our relationship that I depend on.
Right.
And I would not want to text one-on-one with a woman other than logistics, because just as a man, I want you to help hold me accountable. And there's a line. There's a line between flirting and that emotional connection that betrays your emotional monogamy. And that's what this is all about. It's keeping those separate and knowing that we're playing with fire here. Really, you're having sex with other people.
Well, that's true.
You're playing with fire. So if you're not, in my mind, if you're not disciplined enough to respect the relationship and respect each other and to play this thing in a completely healthy way, that's the way that's why I like the 4-way texting, because you're always listening. And no matter what I say to the other woman, I'm never tempted to say anything inappropriate or
Right.
that might convey to her that I'm interested in her emotionally.
Right. Well, and I think the bottom line is if you ever cringe when your partner picks up your phone and could potentially look at your texts,
Right.
then something's wrong.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, at any time I should be able to hand you my phone, and because I'm like really irresponsible with my technology and I never delete anything. You know, when I stop getting text messages, I'm like, oh, maybe I should delete some of this old stuff. So everything's always there for you to look at. And I would never hesitate for you to pick up my phone and look at anything.
Right. And just so that, we're not judging people who aren't like us. I mean, because I've heard people say that they text individually, but then when they come home, like they'll read all the texts to their husband because it turns them on.
Right.
So this is just our thing.
Well, and that's people that date separately.
Yeah,
I mean, they
right.
come home and tell their partner about it, and it's like so sexy, but that's not us.
Right. But it comes down to that emotional adultery, that emotional monogamy. That's what we want to keep pure.
Right.
And 4-way texting is a safeguard for us to do that. And it's hot.
So those of you out there that do play separately, text separately, and if you've been swinging longer than us, just laugh and say, oh, those newbies, they'll figure it out someday.
Yeah,
and you're right, we might, but this is our comfort level right now. And so to you newbies out there, you never say never, but this is the way we feel confident with our swinging, is knowing that this trust is there because we try to keep things as transparent as possible.
Yep. Okay. So before we go, one more time, say it again.
What?
You belong to me.
You belong to me, mister.
Yes.
Yes. All mine.
All right. We'll be right back with some sexy snapshots.
Yes.
All right, welcome back. It's time for Snapshots. But first, if you have picked up on the fact that the sexiest voice on iTunes is a little bit raspier tonight than normal.
Oh, geez, we've been sick.
I know, we were both sick, and I was sick for a very short period of time, and I don't even think I just lost my voice. I must have had some sort of a cold that just affected my voice.
I know, and then I was like, yes, I have the immune system of, superior immune system because I didn't get sick and I didn't get sick and I didn't get sick. Made it through the weekend. And then by Monday, I was just like, couldn't talk and I was just a mess.
Right. And you refused to go to the doctor.
Yes.
And then we went and ran a half marathon last weekend.
Yes.
And you ran a half marathon with bronchitis.
Yes, I did.
And then you were wondering why you were 6 minutes slower than you wanted to be.
More than 6 minutes. It was awful. So yeah, I wasn't feeling very good. So that was Saturday. And then by Monday, it felt like, I don't know,
Somebody
I had
was
like
sitting on your chest.
50 bricks sitting on my chest. So I went to the doctor and the doctor was like, yeah, you have bronchitis and here's a note to take the rest of the week off of work. And I was like, what? I can't take any time off. And he's like, well, at the minimum, here's a lot of medicine. So
And you said, I got to be better by Friday when our swinger friends come
I
over.
know. Thank goodness for Z-Packs. I'm feeling normal again. My voice is still a little off, but I can breathe again.
We had a wonderful time at that half marathon.
Yes, we did.
The day it was a gorgeous day. Our daughter ran with us again.
Yeah, she and I ran together.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And you beat her.
I did.
Because she kept having to stop and use the bathroom.
Oh, I can't believe you just said that.
She's
That's
not
wrong.
listening.
Well,
do you want her to listen?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, her mama ditched her the last time, and I just kept going.
Yeah, and we used Airbnb for the first time and had a good experience.
We did have a good time. This young hippie guy owned this like condemned row house in the middle of the city and had refurbished it, and it was awesome.
Yep. So anyway, we had a good time.
We did have a good time.
I just wanted to, in case you've been picking up on the raspiness.
Yeah.
I think it makes your voice maybe more sexy.
I don't know. I'd just rather be able to talk again.
Back to snapshots. So I think you're going to go first.
Okay. Well, so last weekend we had some friends down. We went out to dinner. We did a little bit of a card game that didn't last very long. I don't
even know why you got the stupid card game out.
I know. We didn't really need it, but
no.
But well, you were actually playing nice. It was the other husband that he didn't want to play. He just wanted to get things started. So it was a pretty easy transition because we were all pretty much ready to go. We had played together before.
Yeah, he was on a mission with you.
He was.
Yeah, he wouldn't leave you alone.
No, I wasn't complaining at all. And he's a perfect gentleman. So he has this way about him of being very clear about what he wanted, but he wasn't like creepy about it.
Right.
It was very sexy.
Right.
So we ended up having a really good time.
Yep.
So we did a little massage, and did you get on the massage table this time?
No.
Oh, come on. Now, wait a minute. You've been on the massage table once lately.
No. Remember, she got on the table and he couldn't keep his hands off of you. And I said, why are we doing this massage? We just need to get in the other room.
Okay, well, that was your fault then.
No, it's not, because it would have been just her giving me the massage, because he had his hands all over you, and then you turned around and started kissing him. Like, what the heck are we doing in here doing? This is supposed to be a massage, right? If it's not, that's fine. Let's don't pretend. Let's go into the next room.
And we did.
Yes. Yeah.
So we got into the next room, and the other wife and I climbed up on the middle of the bed, and we were both kneeling straight up. And
oh yeah, this was hot.
Yeah. So she and I started kissing, and we were both naked. And she has an awesome body.
Two naked, awesome body.
Yeah. She has really nice breasts.
Yeah.
Really nice
Kneeling
nipples.
against each other, right?
Yeah. So I was having fun kissing her and playing with her breasts. And actually, I think I played with them a lot when she was on the massage table.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm about to jump into your snapshot. Go ahead.
I know. Hey, this is my snapshot. So she and I were kissing and just kind of, rubbing each other. And women are just so soft, and she smelled good, and we were having a good time. So it was just the two of us. We were supposed to be putting on a show. So Mr. Jones couldn't keep his hands off of her. So he comes up behind her on the other side of the bed. And I'm in front of her because we're facing each other kissing. So Mr. Jones comes up behind her, and he starts kissing the back of her neck, I think. And
breathing into her ear.
Yeah.
Because she said before in the evening she liked that.
Yeah. So then her husband didn't want to feel left out. So then he came up behind me, and all four of us turned into just like this big sandwich.
Yeah.
And everybody was just kind of kissing, and it was just really like soft and sensual. There wasn't like anything crazy about it yet. It turned into crazy. But that's my snapshot, because like you were reaching forward and you would touch like my hip, but then you had your other hand on her, and her husband was doing the same thing. So like when you shut your eyes, and I've said this before, like when I'm on the massage table, I like to shut my eyes because I like that mystery of knowing whose hands are on me. Like I could tell her hands because her hands are small and soft, but the two of you, it was just so erotic.
You know what it was?
What?
Can I speak now?
Yes.
It was the breathing.
Yeah.
Because all four of our faces were together, and I was breathing into her ear. And when I did that, she was moaning.
She did start moaning.
And she was kissing you. And so she was moaning into your mouth.
Oh, it was hot.
Yeah. That was it. It was the moaning and the blowing, breathing into her ear.
And you know what else it was? We're going to give our secret away. So if you have Pandora Radio, there's a station on it called In Credo.
Yeah, that's IN space CREDO radio.
It's like
it's desire music.
It's like slow Latin jazz music.
Yes.
It's really sensual, easygoing music. It reminds me of the music that they'll play like after midnight at the hot tub, like the late night hot tub music at Pearl, where it's just slow and sensual, and it's kind of mood setting, and that's just good. It's good fucking music.
Mrs. Jones.
I know, but it is.
And
how else can you say it?
Oh, that's hot. And we have a whole house stereo, so it's just blaring. No matter what room we get dragged into,
that's right.
It's playing.
It was nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think that was really setting the kind of the whole mood between that and just all the hands, and it was just hot. And then, that was slow and sensual, but it didn't stay slow and sensual.
Nope.
It went crazy.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did. I remember, I think I might have been screaming before that night was over.
I think, no, both of you were at the same time.
Were we at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah. I was kind of in that oblivious mode.
Well, after he and I we full swapped, and after we finished, he went down on you and I went down on her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was sexy.
It was hot. Okay, well, that was my snapshot.
Oh, you're done? Yes. I guess I got to remember mine. Mine is very, okay. You know what? Before I talk about that, this goes back to like me measuring myself.
Oh, brother.
I mean, when I look at other guys, it's almost like, I think, that little inscription on your side view mirror, it says things in this mirror are larger than they appear. Because, when you're looking at a guy from like, I mean, when I look down at myself, I'm looking at the short end.
Are you looking for compliments, Mr.
No,
Jones?
no, I'm not. I'm just looking. This has to do with my snapshot.
Okay.
Because remember we talked about measuring, and you can measure from the front or you can measure from the back.
Right.
Well, from the back side where, the balls and everything are, it looks a lot longer because the root is, you see more of it.
Right.
Well, I don't ever see that because I can only look down. I see the short end.
Oh.
So when I'm looking at another guy, I mean, almost all the time, I'll come back and I'll say, wow, how was it to have a bigger guy? And you say, he's not bigger. It's the same size or you're bigger. And so I finally realized it's the perspective.
All men we've played with have been almost the same size.
Yeah.
I mean, and a girl can tell. I mean, when you're giving a guy a blowjob and you're like,
I believe you.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I digress. So here's the snapshot. So the couple that we had down that we soft swapped with,
mm-hmm.
and he was on the massage table.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when the man is getting massaged, the other man excuses himself and sits on the bed and watches the massage table.
Oh, you weren't sitting on the bed. You were lounging on the bed.
I was laying on the bed watching you two
comfortable.
ladies. And you started giving him a blowjob. And you're very good. And your technique, you're very sensual, and you're very, you pay a lot of attention to
I'm
what.
thorough.
Yes, you're adoring.
Yes.
You had his.
I was facing you.
He had.
Yes.
You had his whole cock in your mouth. You started going down. You started at the head, and you went all the way down, and you had everything in your mouth. And you looked up at me. And you had this evil grin on your face.
I did.
And that was hot.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah, I know. That was hot. I mean, you were a bad girl, Mrs. Jones.
I know.
And you looked right at me and you were like, this is for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it didn't hurt that he has an amazing body. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my snapshot. You had the whole thing in your mouth and you just looked at me.
It's like the cat that caught the canary.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Right. That's what you look like.
Yeah.
Oops. You caught me.
Oops.
Yeah.
Hi, honey.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was but I never get to see it from that, from that perspective. Because first of all, when you're around me like that, my eyes, I can't even keep my eyes open. It's like a ventriloquist where there's a string or something.
I catch your eye sometimes when
I
I'm
try
giving you a blowjob.
I try to. But when you get serious about it, I can't.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what it looks like. Well, now that I got to see firsthand, you're very talented.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm happy to share.
I think you're a little prejudiced, but that's okay.
No.
Yeah. You can be biased towards me.
But you know what? This maybe changes the gear a little bit. Because didn't the next day you were a little concerned about that.
Oh, well, yeah, I thought I might have gone over the top a little bit.
You didn't go over the top. Are we straight?
Yes.
We're clear.
Okay. I can do that again.
Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you can do that again.
All right. I'll put it on my to-do list.
Yes. So those are our snapshots.
Yes.
Pretty hot snapshots.
Yes.
And we have a special treat for you tonight. We mentioned Paige and Penn at the outset of this episode, and they were so kind. They just spent a week. No, not quite a week.
It was 4 nights.
4 or 5 nights at Desire. And they recorded a snapshot.
They did.
From Desire to
They
share
came
with us.
home from Desire like on a Wednesday, and we FaceTimed them on a Sunday, and they're sitting there with their tan skin. It was so wrong.
Yeah, it was wrong.
Yeah, we're getting all pasty white.
Yeah.
And they looked gorgeous.
Right. So we're going to turn this over to Paige and Penn and enjoy one more recording from Paige and Penn. And thank you guys for leaving us this snapshot.
Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. This is
Penn and Paige from Swinger Dairies.
And we just got back from an awesome trip to Desire, and we have a snapshot for you about some of the experiences that we had there, because in particular, they involve you.
Like you both, we have a Swinger Dairies account on Cassidy.
So before we went, we posted on our Cassidy account that we were going to Desire, and some of the people that are our friends on Cassidy knew that we'd be at Desire, but we really didn't think that anybody would care. We didn't think anybody knew who we were. I mean, after all, the world is a really big place, and our show is really very small in the big scheme of the giant world.
It was shocking to us that we were in the pool and that people came up to us and kept saying, "Hey, we know who you are."
Right. Some people had recognized us from pictures that they've seen, maybe on our profile, but mostly they just recognized our voices and knew that we'd be there. It was so great when people would come up to us in the pool and introduce themselves, and we were just humbled that anybody would care who we were and that they went out of their way to say hello to us.
And one of the cutest comments that we got over and over and over again were, "Where are the Joneses?"
Yeah, that was the surprise, is every time people recognized us, almost their next question was, "So where are your friends? Where are the Joneses?" It was like people thought we were a foursome. How could we be here without the Joneses?
Yeah, everybody wanted to know, "Where's We Got a Thing? How come they're not here? Why didn't you get them to come?"
Oh, I know. We spent so much time talking about you two. We spent time explaining to people how sweet you are and how real you are and how awesome our connection is with you. It was really fun because people thought of us as if we have this cosmic connection to We Got a Thing. They even would refer back to some of the stories that resonated with them, and they would tell us, "Oh, we loved that story about when you were in the sex fort." And we had to kind of look at each other and giggle and think, that's not our story. That's the Joneses' story.
It was very sweet how people would get our stories mixed up. And we were happy and impressed by the fact that people thought that we're a foursome, we're tackling the podcast world together.
Right. It was our 15 minutes of fame, and we soaked it in and appreciated it. And we have you in part to thank for it, since so many people know us through you.
So here's our snapshot.
After we went to our room on the very first day and we dropped our stuff and we began to walk out of the room in that kind of timid, unsure way, you don't know who you're going to be meeting on this trip, and your tan lines are still in place because you haven't even had a chance to take your clothes off at the pool yet. And as we walked by one of the beds that sit around the lobby area, a cute little girl.
Firecracker.
She jumped up from the bed and she practically tripped on the leg of the bed in order to jump out on the sidewalk in front of us so she could say to us, oh my gosh, I know who you are. I know who you are."
We've had this one-sided friendship for so long. Of course, she knew us as Penn and Paige, and she was happy to see us in person. She said, "I can't believe you're really here. I've been your best friend for a whole year."
Yeah, she kept saying, "It's like a one-sided best friend relationship. I know all about you, and you know nothing about me." It was so cute.
And she said, "One of my favorite things was when you and We Got a Thing got together because it was like my two best friends were dating each other."
She echoed the sentiments that we heard by so many people there, which is like, we were so excited to know that the four of you had this great connection and had this relationship together. And she just was reveling in it in this compersive way about how she was so proud that her friends all knew each other and got along so well.
It's been sad to say goodbye to our show, but we're so overwhelmed by the response of listeners and fans out there.
Yeah, we were so flattered by so many people who wished us well when we finally ended our show. And so many of them asked us if they could still have access to our shows, sometimes to pass them on to new people, sometimes to just re-listen to them. So for any of your listeners who might be ours too, if you haven't heard, our shows are still available at swingerdiaries.wordpress.com. You can go to our blog and shoot us an email. We will happily send you links to any and all of our shows. Of all the people that we met, and of all the sweet compliments that we got, one overall message was obvious and clear. And we so enjoyed taking compliments on your behalf that we owe you the opportunity to give you this message. Even though we just have these little podcasts, we were shocked with how many people's lives we influence and touch, with how many people were sad to see our show end, and how many people count every month on your show coming out. We really do develop a one-sided but very intimate personal relationship with people. They listen to our stories as part of their date night together. They listen to our stories when they are driving together on road trips in the car. And they even listen to our stories when they're together in bed. Yeah, it's true. It just goes to show that you should be proud of the influence that you have and the positive effect that you make on the lifestyle. We are totally awed and overwhelmed by so many people who made the same sentiments to us and asked us to pass them on to you.
The last most common question we got asked at Desire was, is there going to be a We Got a Swinger Diary story part 2? I think there may be that in our future.
Okay, well, thanks, Paige and Penn, for that awesome snapshot. And I just have one thing to say. We don't have to think that there may be a We Got a Swinger Diary part 2 in our future. We know that there will be.
There definitely will be.
There will be.
Yeah.
We are supposed to be looking at our calendars and finding a weekend where we can meet midway until we can get a longer.
But we don't know if we're going to podcast on that weekend. That just might be
We're going to have to do something on that weekend.
Yeah, but we're not going to, we might not podcast.
Well, maybe not a full-blown podcast, but we'll at least have to record something
Plus,
together.
that'll give us a reason to get together with them again in the future to do a podcast.
Right. So I don't fantasize, but I have this, I'm kind of fixated on the fact that I really want the four of us to be naked in bed podcasting together.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we only do a snapshot or something.
Oh, okay.
It has to be the four of us naked
Yep.
in bed together.
So thank you very much, Paige and Penn. We are going to miss you in the podcast world.
Yes.
And I know that, as you mentioned, you've been rightfully so recognized by a lot of your listeners. And I guess you don't really realize, the difference that you're making. So I'm glad that you all were able to experience some of the love back.
That's right. That's right. Because we've we've learned so much from listening to your podcast. I mean, you guys have had some amazing experiences, and you do such a good job of putting everything in perspective and making it, sound like it's something that is always a positive experience, no matter, what craziness happened.
Right. And if that relative of yours experiences some sort of unfortunate accident in the future, we expect you to be back on the air.
That's right.
Yeah. So along with Paige and Penn, it's been a strange couple of months here in podcasting world.
It has been.
Jim and Jen from Hidden Swing have announced that they're cutting back on their podcasting schedule, and good for them. They're both furthering their education and reprioritizing things in life, and good for you guys.
Yep.
But with the absence of Paige and Penn, and now with Jim and Jen, stepping back, what we realized is there are a whole lot of new podcasts out that we have just started listening to, over the past month or two. So even though that we're sad that we're losing some some old friends, there are, the podcast community continues to grow. And so we thought we'd take a minute and, just let you know that there are other new podcasts out there. And the thing that we love about the podcast community is it's not competitive, it's collaborative, and everybody is helpful. I mean, we're all different people. We don't think we have the corner market on podcasting. We're going to resonate with certain people, but the lifestyle is full of different people from.
Well, it's always good to hear different perspectives on things.
Yes.
So maybe that might not be the way you swing, but just hearing how other people approach the lifestyle it's really interesting, and you can always pull something from it that you can relate to.
Yes. So here are 6, and I'm going to have links to all of these 6 podcasts on our website and on our show notes, but here are 6 new podcasts. And when I say new, newer than us, maybe 6 or 8 episodes at the most.
Yeah.
And we've just started listening. So we have some international podcasters that we listen to from Australia.
The Australian accent is so sexy. Yeah. Oh my.
So there's 2 podcasts, the Aussie Swingers, that's Al and Ellie. I just started listening to them this past week, and I think they do a really good job. Really enjoy their podcast. And then their neighbors from Australia, Swinging Down Under, and that's C and D. So we've really enjoyed, and you got a thing about.
I do have a thing about Australian accents. Yeah. Yes.
We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
So a shout out to you guys and keep up the good work. I'd also like to mention L&K Swinging Adventures, and that's the letter L, the letter N, the letter K, as in Lance and Kelly. So L&K Swinging Adventures, Swinger Podcast, Scott and Svetlana, Shameless Adventures, Chris and Michelle, and Two or More to Tango, Mr. and Mrs. Tango. And we've known Mr. and Mrs. Tango for
over a year. Yeah.
And they have been podcasting now. I think they have 5 or 6 episodes out.
I think they have, 6 or 7 out
6
now.
or 7,
yeah.
right. And we met them in New Orleans in 2014, saw them again in 2015, and they've got quite a few episodes out now. And they're older, like us, and getting into the lifestyle later in life. So we have a lot in common with them, and we appreciate the fact that there are more people starting podcasts, and anything that we can do to help promote that. So give them all a listen, and hopefully a few of them will resonate with you. I mean, I have to admit, I listen to them all.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a podcaster and I like knowing who's in the community and what the messages are about. And so anyway, and we're hopeful out there. You know what? There's Mrs. Jones. I would bet you that there's at least one couple out there right now listening,
thinking about starting a podcast. Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Well, yes, it's a lot of work. It's a big commitment, but we have reaped so many benefits from doing this podcast that we didn't really anticipate. Just the conversations that we're forced to have when we're planning our podcast, and then the emails we get. Oh my gosh, the emails are so amazing.
Yep.
And so many. Mr. Jones and I were sitting down a couple weeks ago and trying to kind of map out what 2016 is going to look like as far as our podcast go, and what kind of topics we want to cover. And we just have so many ideas that have come from you all, and not necessarily you writing in saying, I want to hear a podcast on this. You just share your stories with us, and that generates ideas that we can spring off of. And that's so helpful for us because, we can talk to each other in front of these microphones all day long, but if we're not talking about things that you guys find interesting and helpful, then, we're just kind of doing it for ourselves, and that's not really what it's about.
Right. So let's throw a few of those ideas out. We're not sure when we're going to podcast about these, but one is going to be being Christian swingers. Another one is going to be, we're going to interview some people hopefully in 2016, but we'd like to get somebody on that is a marriage counselor that's also a swinger. We are going to delve into bisexual males in the lifestyle, and we have a couple that we'd like to talk to about that. And we're going to talk about couples that have had bad experiences in the lifestyle. So Yeah, because of the feedback that we're getting and the connections that we're making through email, we're really coming up with some really important topics that we think need to be, thrown out there. And really, where else are you going to go? That's why we encourage people to podcast, because where else are you going to go to get information about the swinging lifestyle unless it's through podcasts? So,
well, that's why it's so interesting to listen to multiple podcasts, because there's just so many topics out there that are being covered. And sometimes it's the same topic being covered by 2 or 3 or 4 different podcasts, but you're going to take away different things from each one of them.
Yes. Okay. Well, we're about to wrap up episode 16, my dear. Anything else?
It's just been a fun ride. And while we've been crazy busy, at the same time, it's been crazy fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
We're making some really good friends. Sometimes I think, oh my gosh, we're overbooked and overloaded, but what would I want to cancel?
Yeah.
Nothing. I just enjoy being with all the people that we're meeting, not just to have fun, crazy sex with them, but oh my gosh, people are interesting.
Right. Yep. So anyway, please, we mentioned emails. We love the fact that we've been getting so many emails. If you all, we again covet your email. Please continue to email us. We've really developed some good relationships through email. We love to get to know you. So when you email us, tell us something about, we got a really good snapshot to read.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but Paige and Penn, we wanted to do theirs tonight. So we got one good snapshot for next time. Please send us your snapshots. We're running out of snapshots to read. So, we'd love for you to share that. And our website, again, is wegotathing.com. Follow us on Twitter at We Got a Thing. Our Cassidy community continues to grow. So if you are on Cassidy, look for us and join our community. If you're not on Cassidy and you join Cassidy through our website, I should really know this, but you get some sort of maybe 2 or 3 months free before you have to pay anything. So
I think you get 90 days.
Yeah, 90 days. So if you click on the Cassidy banner on our page and try out Cassidy, if you do that, join our community. We'd love to have you. And the Cassidy community is the one that will actually put out first information on when we're going to podcast. And so thank you for that. But most importantly, our email address, wegotathing@gmail.com. That's WEGOTTATHING@gmail.com. So keep the emails coming. Anything else, Mrs. Jones, or are we about to wrap this Thursday night up?
I think we're ready to wrap it up.
Because tomorrow is Friday.
Tomorrow is Friday, and we got a date.
We do. All
Yes.
right. Well, thanks again for listening. We are Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and we got a thing.
What's your thing? It's a Thursday night and we're recording again. And why do we have to record on a Wednesday night, Mr. Jones?
Wednesday night?
Oh,
You just said
darn
Thursday.
it.